myself back here. So unfortunately, so Stephen Burtt, who is the co-founder of VR Drones and Aerial Technologies International, couldn't be here today. So he asked if I could speak on his behalf. And so they're kind of our partner, sister company to Panox, and we're going to talk about their new VR drone. This is Stephen Burtt in action. He kind of looks like a deer hunter here, very serious, like he's going to go hunt his kill from the air. So do you guys remember this clip from my last presentation? So I have it looping because I want you to see what a standard 360 video drone looks like, and also its inherent problems. It's kind of like a pendulum. There's like this big weight on the bottom, and the way 360 video from the air is filmed, if anyone got a demo back there. Can I just get a hand of how many people got to see the aerial demo? Okay, cool, so a handful. Please, if you have a chance tonight, check it out. So what we do is we hang a ball, an array of cameras on the bottom, and we film 360 video, but then we put one camera on the top of the UAV pointing straight up. And what happens is when the camera is far enough, when you stitch it all together, the drone is so small in the shot that you can just take the footage from the top camera and bring it in there, combine the cameras, and the drone magically disappears from the shot. And that's why it hangs, that's why you have to hang it so low. However, the pendulum causes just so much problem. And basically, these are the problems. You get poor image quality due to vibration and movement of drone. The drone is typically in the image. You get diminished flying capability and cameras attached. So it's like using up all the drone's batteries just trying to stabilize it. And then you get lengthy post-processing, which means you can't go live with the footage. You have to go back to the studio, offload the footage, and then stabilize it. And it takes days, sometimes weeks, depending on how windy the situation was. So now here is VR drones. If you look at the cameras, you might notice something. I just have it looping here backwards. Now it's coming backwards at us. You can see it's amazing. It's just incredible. And so basically the underlying magic, it's got 3-axis stabilization built into the center of gravity of the drone. It's got centralized stabilization, which vastly improves the flight performance, which means it's not going to drain the batteries. All cameras are synced on the same axis. That means that you can have cords connected and gen-locked running through that tube. So when you activate one, they all activate. It's got onboard image processing. And then you've got programmable logic, which allows the software to quickly remove the drone from the image. That means that I don't have to spend weeks in post-processing back at the studio. It's just incredible. So this is just a super sexy shot on an icy lake that we wanted to put in there. And basically these are the value propositions. So there's higher quality and smoother airborne VR. You get true 360, 180 degree imaging, which creates the most immersive experience possible. You get higher top speeds, higher wind tolerances, and greater flight agility, which can help create incredibly dynamic aerial VR content. It provides the solution for live broadcast and aerial VR. So basically, my time is almost up, but the duck is going to attack our drone. And this is their business model. If there's anyone here that's interested in this technology, I'm going to bring Lawrence, who's the engineer behind this VR drone, up to answer Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll just, we're running a little long tonight, so just a couple of questions. But if anyone has any questions for VR drones, then their head engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, we pretty much covered it. Yeah, anybody have any questions on a drone with VR cameras? Yeah, go ahead.
So does your footage require like auto pano to stitch together, or is that already?
Yeah, so most of the stitching is still done in a traditional sense. So you're still going to have, similar arrays. It's an open camera platform, so you can, pick whatever kinds of cameras you want to put on there. And of course, you might need to scale the drone, of course, to maybe lift that payload. But the premise is basically how do you get, those camera arrays to be stable and fixed and not, both impede the copter's ability and or the person who's stitching at the end of the day.
Got a question in the back?
What's your standard flight time, or is it dependent on weight of cameras?
So yeah.
So what's the standard flight time? I get that question a lot on most all drones. It really is kind of relative to the payload and how you're going to be flying it. Also, temperature has a huge effect on it. When it's cold out there, it can burn a battery a little bit quicker. Again, the idea is, the drone is sort of incidental to the whole entire, mechanism, meaning depending on what kind of cameras or what kind of flight time you might need, we can alter the drone to sort of meet those needs. The basic idea was, how do we get cameras to stabilize in a fashion that didn't really suspend them underneath, like in a conventional camera that you would see on, your DJI little Phantom drones and that. We really had to kind of think outside the box as to how can you, put these cameras on here in such a way, still get rid of the drone in the image, and keep it sort of open, open platform in a way. Hope that answered your question.
Okay, one last question. Right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. How do you make money out of that?
So what's the revenue model for a VR drone? That's a great question. Right now we're in a basic patented situation where we are kind of exploring what are the options, how do we put this kind of drone to use, what are the price points of the drone going to be, is it going to be something that we can package in a way where your prosumer can get a hold of it, or is it going to be something where a production company is going to get a hold of it? I think there's plenty of models out there that will actually apply, and we'll probably design and build drones for those models as the company grows and demand grows.
Yeah, I can tell you from my perspective that it saves us thousands of dollars by being able to just not have to do so much post-production on the back end. So, I guess we'll take one more question.
How much problem is the vertical height difference between the two sets of cameras?
Great question.
That is a great question. We've had to do a lot of work on coding because the inertial mass of how, when you separate heavy loads away from the center access point, has been a problem factor, and we've had to alter code and learn how to do PID tuning and pick the appropriate motors and encoders that can sense the movement of the camera and adjust accordingly. But the idea kind of is that mass wants to stay stable. It doesn't want to move. It's really what it's doing is allowing the copter to move and doing kind of micro corrections to keep it as stable as possible. So it really doesn't have that much effort that it has to exert on that, and actually the more mass you have, the more inherently stable it wants to be. And when you have things at equal distance and balanced out there, any kind of wind or any kind of movement of the aircraft is really going to not impede the camera as much when you have that kind of inertial mass that wants to stay stable.
Visually, is there a problem too?
At times the camera can get bumped. It depends on what happens when it's flying. If it does happen to get bumped, it recenters itself and restabilizes. The premise still being that even if it does get bumped a little bit, it's vastly superior to having a slung load, a weight underneath the aircraft where things are moving around a lot. Now, software is pretty good at getting rid of a lot of those blemishes in that, but the inherent idea there is going to be, even if it does get bumped a little bit, it's still going to be a lot less of a workload to have to get over. And the real idea behind this is, we thought that electronically we'll stabilize this stuff and software will handle all this. But when you talk about live streaming, our plan is to have this drone at events where you can have as many spectators watching a sporting event or something like that from the drone. All right, I'll get it. Sorry about that. Yeah, the idea there is the mechanical stabilization basically is going to vastly get the post-processing down and not require software to crunch all that.
Yep.
Yay.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.